Ready? All right, good afternoon. It's just after 20 past 12 on this Thursday afternoon, July 5th, 2018. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for staying with us. On the program this afternoon, Christoph Samlal. He's the candidate for the Progressive Empowerment Party, and Anthony Defoe is his campaign manager. And that's for the running of the by-election in Barataria. And that's set for July 16th. You remember earlier in the week we had spoken with a couple of the representatives, the candidates, but for the PEP and for the UNC in the Belmont East district is also going to be contested on that day. So we're talking Barataria now, Mr. Samlal and Mr. Defoe. Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for
Good
coming.
afternoon, Andy. Good afternoon, listeners.
And we say once again, we've invited all the three major parties contesting these two races, but in this case, we have just Mr. Samlal, and we're happy to have you. Give us a sense of what constitutes the district of Barataria for these elections.
As in geographically?
Yeah.
Right, so it's bounded in the north by the main road,
Yeah.
to the west on 10th Avenue, coming from Lady Young straight down around the highway. So in the south is along the highway as well, and to the east is Don Miguel Road. It'll be stretching across into Marmottville by Altagrove.
Yeah. This is part of the Sour Laventon
Regional
Corporation.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me what are the characteristics of that district?
The best way to describe it is mostly a residential area with a few small businesses setting up along certain key avenues and streets.
Yeah, and what are the issues for the people in that district as far as you have been able to?
As far as I can identify, the biggest issues are neglect in terms of local government. So a lot of the infrastructure is there and exists already, but there was neglect, so it's in a state of, it needs to be redone. It was already established, there's enough drainage, there's enough roadways, there's enough parks and recreational grounds, but they aren't being maintained. So their bigger issue is a matter of keeping it up to standard.
Yeah, and you have a sense as to why the maintenance is not what it should be?
Well, I would like to tell myself is because of the passing of the councillor and the length of time before the by-election was called, they were being neglected as with respect to their needs.
Yeah.
But a lot of the issues you could tell that is far beyond 1 year of neglect.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to say it's just a matter of they not addressing the issues that the residents want to see addressed.
And you live in this district?
I live in San Juan.
Yeah.
But my heart belongs to the entire San Juan Barataria region.
Right.
Because that's where I spend my everyday life.
Are you familiar with
very much
with the issues?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, some of the places people talk about water, lighting, road paving, maintenance, that kind of thing.
Right. So yeah, like the road paving, there's a lot of potholes, as well as there are a lot of corners because it's a layout of streets and avenues in a perfect grid, but there aren't proper signage like stop signs on the road or markings on the roadway. So a lot of drivers are left to guess who has the right of way, and that leads to a lot of accidents and that kind of thing. So again, the lack of maintenance of the infrastructure has led to issues.
How familiar are you with the idea that we're talking the general election constituency that Sour Barataria is seen always as what is called a marginal constituency because it can go either way in an election because there isn't an overwhelming majority of people who will side with one side or the other regardless.
Right.
So do you know to what extent the district that you're going to seek to represent now has a...
Yeah, it's very marginal because the amount of registered electors is around 10,000 people for that district. And just judging by the last election alone, the UNC got 1,500 votes and the PNM got 1,800 votes. So it was almost neck to neck when you compare them comparatively, right? And to me, that actually gives me a lot of hope because what it says to me is there aren't a lot of die-hard supporters. They more vote on issues and who they believe will represent them well, as opposed to just being dedicated to one party or the other. So I believe they, like you say, marginal. We could swing those votes much more easily than our Belmont candidate, who has what we call a well-established thing.
Yes, and it's a more uphill battle there.
Right, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. What is the sense you get from talking to people whose franchise you're seeking to to secure?
As we reach out to the people, the biggest issue we have is that they aren't aware of the existence of the party, what we stand for, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it takes a lot of time to discuss and to get people to know, to get people comfortable with the idea of a new party and that sort of thing. But by the time we actually take the time, discuss, answer their questions and everything else, they love the idea, they're sold on the idea, they want this third party to represent them. So the biggest battle really is to get the message out there. And I mean, I know Philip used to make a lot of noise about the mainstream media not covering us, and now I understand why. Because it's only on nomination day that we began getting national coverage.
Yeah.
And it seems now that the people of Barataria just believe this is a brand new party as in within some months. But we've existed over a year since January last year. Been working on policies, been very active in the communities, spreading out in different constituencies, holding cottage meetings, that sort of thing. But it feels now like we're completely starting all over again. So at most 2 out of 10 people that we encounter knows of the party already, which is the biggest battle. But by the time they know of the party, they're easily sold on the idea.
Yeah, and so you've been part of the formation and the mobilization over the
Yes, very much so. I've been involved with the party just a couple of months after they were formed, when they were contesting the cybercrime bill. That's when I met up with them, actually got to meet the party, saw what they stood for, and decided I need to be part of this, especially to help build it out in my constituency. So I was actually charged with the position of constituency caretaker for Sawa Barataria in terms of building out the party in that constituency. And I've been doing that over the past year. So I was actually the best suited candidate towards this local government election, having that under my portfolio.
Yeah, so you're not coming to the issue of seeking the representation of the people brand new. You have some kind of a...
Correct.
You know,
With the party as well as in terms of community effort.
with the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a community effort. So you've been involved in doing
In
community
homeless
work.
programs as well as education programs.
Yeah. And so how do people ask about, you say people ask about 2 in 10 know what the party is about, but those others, how you attract them to the idea that this is a vehicle to make a difference?
Well, the biggest hindrance to that is most of the 8 out of 10 are jaded by politics. They are completely written off the idea of politics altogether because, again, they've seen the track record of the previous administrations. So, I mean, I understand where they come from, and I explain to them the same things that have you this jaded towards politics are the same things that drove me into politics. Identifying those issues, but we saw solutions. And we decided to put together a party of people who not just identify the issues, but come together and come up with solutions and work towards getting those done. So all the issues that they are willing to identify, which the biggest ones are corruption, financing, that sort of thing. We discuss everything, break down our history, how the parties run. And again, we're so legitimate that when we give them the explanations, they're sold on the party.
Yeah, and so you not get some of the responses from the people, well, you know, all over is the same thing, you would say these things now, when you get in there, you come this.
Yeah, they start off that way, and then again, like I said, we answer all their questions because I'll ask them what you expect to be different, and then show them that this party is that difference. So for example, a lot of people are already aware that party decisions are made along the lines of their finances. Right? So the people who fund the party have a large say in what the party does. So people, when they find out that our finances are raised from the ground up, from selling barbecue tickets, karaoke tickets, jerseys and shirts, you name it, we raise our funds fully transparent and accountable. And little things like that, if for example financing is the issue, they understand and they swing to the party.
Yeah. And from your understanding and working the ground to the extent you have over the course of the better part of the year, does that kind of means of fundraising really deliver the requirements for running a political outfit?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it does provide the method, but it gives us an unfair fight against the existing parties. Because again, they have a bigger chest to play with. They have enough money to plaster their faces across every wall and every lamppost and put up banners and all those sorts of things, which is not the direction we're going. We don't want to waste money behind those resources either way. We actually want to give back to the community. So that's why in my campaign, I decided not to do any posters, nothing on the lampposts, no painting the roads, none of those sort of things. I decided to hold a family day, which I'm actually hosting on Saturday, and an all-fours tournament, because I know people come together with cards and that sort of thing. the whole ideology was to bring the community back together, let people get to know their neighbors, the children get to know the other children within the community, and start taking responsibility for each other as well. So that's the direction I wanted to head in my campaign. And in terms of the financing for that, all donations were made strictly on my goodwill. People who know me personally and know what I stand for, what I'm working towards. So I could guarantee that I know the money that funded my campaign comes with no strings attached. I did it personally. So I pride myself in that, you know, knowing that I have nobody to answer to when we do it. Clean campaign.
Okay, so you said the All Fours with the family day, that's first.
Well, there's family day and All Fours tournament in one.
Same event together. Where's it being held?
At St. George's Grounds on Saturday from 11 to 6.
Yeah, that's 10th and 7th, as they say.
Yeah.
10th Street and 7th Avenue. Yeah. And so you expect that out of that will create a bigger buzz?
Well, the whole idea is, I like myself, I think once people come and get to see the people, interact with them, ask their questions, and get to familiarize themselves with the party, they will be sold. That's why, because the district is so big, unlike Belmont, they could cover the ground 2 or 3 times in this election period. But for us in Barataria, it's a much bigger land space and a much bigger electorate. So I decided, you know, let's bring the people together with something they like and show them what we're about.
Yeah. So you don't have, I know, in a neighborhood like that, part of the culture, you go around with a loudspeaker in a vehicle.
Yeah.
So you do some of that.
We did a few of that to advertise our cottage meeting, the first cottage meeting we held, and we're going to do that for the family day. Just so again, everybody knows that we're having that and they have the opportunity to come out and meet the people as well as have a day of fun.
Yeah. At least, you know, on the basis of what we hear sort of publicly in talking with people generally across the country, there's a certain level of dissatisfaction and disappointment, some people say, about the performance of the government in office. And do you pick that up?
Definitely. The entire population, whether they know of us or not, are ready for change. Some are thinking narrow-mindedly, as in just get this government out, but then some are thinking long-term and realize that even for the past 20 years, they haven't seen sufficient change. So, for example, a guy who's been living in Barataria, all that there was improper grading so that the water doesn't flow out. Since it was built in the 65, 66, he was telling me. And he lived there and experienced all that. So in terms of him, neither of the administrations who served before were acceptable anymore.
Yeah.
But some people think just short term and think about, all right, this administration now, I'm not happy now, so get them out. So that's really the mix, but most people are already dissatisfied with the level of governance they've had.
Yeah, and you get a sense that in these 2 districts, well, let's stay with yours,
right,
that maybe the vote will reflect to some extent people's disaffection or dissatisfaction, and that will be in your favor, in your party's favor.
Like I said, once people know of us, once they know of us well enough, I believe that it will reflect that very well.
Yeah.
Because the people who actually get to know us, they all say, you have my vote, you're sold on that, we've been looking for an alternative, we're glad you did this, glad you stepped up to the plate, and they're showing their support. So again, it's just a matter of everybody getting to know.
Yeah. And how do you, the question is, when if let's say you win and you get in there, there is a whole debate about the performance and the effectiveness of the local government bodies. Let's see if you know, you project as to how you're gonna.
Right. So even from my initial interactions with people, what we do, we start by educating the people first. We break down exactly what local government has a say in and what they don't have a say in, so they understand the powers of their councillor to begin with, as well as the issues that he is carded to address under his portfolio. So we list out like the roads and the potholes, the pavements, the lampposts, the street lights, early childhood care, police presence, health centers and wellness centers, recreational grounds. We give them a full breakdown to start with of what this portfolio entails, and then ask them what their needs are according to those. So for one, people appreciate the fact that we are being so open and educational that they didn't know this all their lives. They didn't know what the councillor's job was. They just know that's an election is either I supporting this party or that party, which is why people didn't really understand the power of their vote. So when we start with that and we explain to them, listen, we are taking a full catalogue according to our portfolio, what issues you need addressed, street by street, name by name, house by house. and building that catalog to take to corporation and represent them. And even beyond that, what I try and tell them, that's simply the job that was supposed to be being done all the time. So not only should you expect that I do that, but I also plan to go on above and beyond my portfolio in terms of representing them. So I've identified certain issues like I've been looking over the resources that is assigned to local government and how it's distributed, so the income versus the expenditure. And I find a lot of issues in terms of the expenditure where we need a lot more transparency. So I tell them I want to be their voice in council to find out these things and bring it to public light.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to hold your point. We need to do some news headlines and then come back and pick it up from on that point. We're talking with Mr. Christoph Samlal, the candidate for the Progressive Empowerment Party in Barataria in these local government elections that are scheduled to take place on July 16th. So it's Barataria and there is Belmont East. We talked with two of the candidates for Belmont East earlier in the week. Stay with us.
The clip is there in today's folder. Is labeled Ganga Full Clip, I think.
With the News Power 102 News Update. Here's what's making headlines to this time.
How we doing?
Central Police are said to be bracing for possible protest action over another deadly shooting incident in Enterprise. Education Minister Anthony Garcia says there are no plans to replace the secondary entrance assessment examination with a continuous assessment process. The Meteorological Office says no need to panic over reports of a possible tropical storm developing east of Trinidad. Antigua's Prime Minister calls for urgent renewed unity in CARICOM, and 12 boys and their football coach stuck in a cave in Thailand are not well enough to attempt an escape. Well, that's what's making your news headlines to this hour on Power 102.1 FM. It's now back to State of the Nation with Andy Johnson.
Thank you very much, Gregory.
That was your News Power 102 News Update.
Are you fed up of car problems? Well, your solution is Flair Auto Services. They repair all vehicles, makes and models, even roll-on and roll-off vehicles. Flair Auto Services is your one-stop shop for batteries, tires, alignment, tune-up, suspension, electrical, and diagnostic scans. Record services, and we even pick up and drop off your vehicle. So don't waste precious time going elsewhere. Let Flair Auto Services handle it all. Give them a call at 662-6545. Flair Auto Services, opposite Carib Brewery on the Eastern Main Road. Your total car care stop.
By public demand, Fabinja Expos now closing on July 16th. Yes, you have just a few more days to visit Fabinja Expos, located at the White Tent opposite Medford gas station, Shoguners. Massive sale now on. Get up to 80% off. Spend $1,000 or more on links or credit card for a chance to spin to win up to $500 instantly. We cater for the entire family. Don't miss out on this opportunity to visit the best of the best. Fabinja Expos now closing on July 16th, located at the White Tent opposite Medford gas station, Shoguners, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Exciting water fun lives at the Cascadia Hotel Water Slides, located at the Cascadia Hotel St. Anne's. Open Saturday, Sundays, and public holidays from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. with 3 fast-paced, fun-filled water slides.
Big up vibes, man. Big up vibes.
Fun for the children. Admission is $50 for everyone. Check us out today. The Cascadia Water Slides, Cascadia Hotel St. Anne's.
State of the Nation, up noon to 1 p.m. on News Power 102 FM.
All right, it's 20 to 1 this Thursday afternoon. Continuing our discussion with Mr. Christoph Samlal, the candidate for the Progressive Empowerment Party in Barataria, in local government elections to take place there on July 16th. In the same way, on that same day, there's a local government election taking place in Belmont East. Both of these have been occasioned because of the deaths of those people who served in the corporation. In the case of Mr. Samlal, that's the Sour Laventil Regional Corporation, and the other one that was in the Port of Spain Corporation. Well, in studio with us as well, with Mr. Samlal, is his campaign manager, Mr. Anthony Defu. And so I consider we are on somebody's Facebook page as we're speaking.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me ask you a couple of questions. And what is the job of the campaign manager in this case?
Well, basically to try to streamline the actual campaign in itself, getting people on the ground, street captains and so on, engaging the citizens within the constituency, within the area. And again, the exercise that we're using right now is really more of an educational process because it's about information. It's what our population has been starved for a very, very long time. And, one of our main mandates is to educate our citizenry. And it's not a matter of educating in school, but it's a matter of getting proper information. So again, the citizenry is able to make better decisions because with more information allows you to make better decisions. Unfortunately, for the 50+ years that we've had independence thus far, where the political powers that be, being able to get their tentacles, I have to say, within media in some way, form, or fashion. Again, you've heard Christoph's mentioning that with the nomination of our local electorate candidates, it's the first time that we've gotten exposure by the mainstream media. And we have to admit that the part of the population that may not be tech savvy, you're talking about more of the grassroots, older heads and stuff, their source of information is your mainstream media. And when you have these entities that, their mandate really is supposed to bring fair information across the board to the population, and they are, I have to say, picking and choosing what information is being placed into the public domain, again, that allows for a level of control over the minds of the people, because again, they're not faced with all the information in order to make the proper decision. So again, one of the primary campaign strategies that we're using, interacting with the people on the ground, is again giving them information, proper information, and again, it's factual information as well. You can Google it, Google it. Everything we say, we insist. If you don't want to take our word for it, Google it. Get the information as necessary to you. If you don't think that, or you feel to yourself, well, they would look at us, like you said before, all politicians is the same, and what is different. And again, Christoph said perfectly, the population is jaded, man, because every other entity that came into the political arena outside of the PNM or the UNC was a total failure to the people. And not only that, if you look at their history and where they actually came from, again, it's recycled politicians that came from either the UNC or the PNM or what have you, in order to form these other administrations, as they would like to say, the third force. We don't believe in this third force. No one owns votes or owns the people. It's a matter, again, of giving the people the information that they need in order for them to make the decision. So when you hear people talking about this whole third force business, well, for me personally, I'm not one that subscribes to that.
You don't subscribe to the
no
orthodoxy of
exactly, because now
either of these two parties have bases, have solid.
That's right, they do, and again, you're talking 50+ years. It's a long time to create. That's right. It's a long time to create that base. We have to remember.
But the UNC is only about half of that.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Third generation sort of. Yeah.
Right.
But again, when you look at these other parties' track record as to were they able to really engage the population? Were they able to stand by what they were saying on the campaign trail? Did they meet the needs of the population? And in reality, they missed in a big sense. And we're just saying, look, the Progressive Empowerment Party is not of the political cloth. We're regular people, just like you and I, Christoph, and everyone else. That's
Charles and everybody else.
Exactly. The thing is that we want to embrace a level of common sense, simplicity, things that we can really dissect and ensure that, once we can roll this out, it can actually work. It's not about lip service. It's actually about having results and putting your money where your mouth is, as they like to say. Yeah. You know what I mean? And again, yes, we're the underdog, and yes, we have everything against us. We have a mountain ahead of us in order for us to climb and overcome. But again,
resources.
It's about resources. And again, that's another reason why, like Christoph said, both PNM and UNC has a tremendous war chest of money. And again, they've had a long time to acquire this. We would not even go too deep into that as to how they have acquired what they have acquired.
But I imagine you all are, have a sense of confidence that is not the be all and end all.
No, it's not. It's not.
The support of the people.
Correct.
It's not. We strongly believe that even though the population is jaded, remember, they don't have all the information that is necessary for them to make proper decisions, especially within the political environment. When you have mainstream media not putting the type of information, I mean, the PEP, Progressive Empowerment Party, has had a meeting every Saturday since they've started over a year and a half ago. We've had almost 20 public meetings. We've had
3 protests.
3 protests. I mean, the thing is,
and
none of this.
The reaction to that and the responses to that have been encouraging enough for you all.
Well, the people who were engaged and the people who were exposed to the Progressive Empowerment Party, I would have to say 9 out of 10 all gravitated towards the party right away, simply because what's being said, the doctrine and the policies the party is putting forward, has been things that a large part excuse me, of the population has been thinking for years. And the thing is, again, we talk the talk on the campaign trail, but what mechanisms do we have in place to hold any administration, for that matter, accountable for what they were saying on the campaign trail?
All right, I'm going to ask you this question. To what extent the result of this election for Mr. Samlal in Barataria depends on the work of the campaign manager,
of course,
as opposed to the work of the candidate?
Of course. Well, like Christoph said, between Barataria and Belmont, Barataria is a larger landmass area, much larger number of people within that area as well.
Because of the settlement patterns.
Correct.
Right.
That's right.
Belmont is deeply urban. And
that's right.
People live
and it's more compact.
Yes.
That's yes.
And it's a smaller district itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Again, we are putting our best foot forward. We are hoping to meet the target of meeting all 10,000 constituents within that area. If we are going to meet it, I don't know the future, but it's our goal. We are trying to, again, give the information to the people, what is available to them, the options that they do have, the policies that Mr. Samlal and the Progressive Empowerment Party stands for. And again, it's up to the people to make a decision. And, say all and end all. We just simply, after doing everything and all is said and done, it's up to the people at the end of the day. It is truly up to the people if they themselves want change, if they choose to reject this new political vehicle that truly is there for them. Because if you have question marks in your mind, Trinidad and Tobago, you are more than welcome, 1.5 million of you, to join us at Stanmore Avenue, 12 noon. Every Saturday, scrutinize the policies, ask how it works, break it down for the people or for the individual in layman terms for them to understand, because you have parts of the population who may not be as savvy education-wise. You may have that are, again, no two people are the same. So we can't just use one model and say, all right, this is how it is, X, Y, and Z, and end it right there. Yes, we have to go through the entire alphabet. Yes, it takes a whole lot more time. Because you're basically trying to break things down as to the individual or group or people that you're actually dealing with. So it's a several-prong approach. So I have to still say, though, right now in Trinidad and Tobago, Trinidad is making history. The Progressive Empowerment Party is making history because we're not connected to any 1%ers, big businessmen or financiers. We're not connected to any political body such as the PNM or UNC or any other political body for that matter. And in reality, we are not wanting to have to partner with any other political body, because we have no desire to compromise as to what our policies are and how we do want to move the country forward. And if anyone is willing to come and have a debate from either side, whether it be the PNM or the UNC or both for that matter, let's sit, let's talk, and let's hear what your policies are, how it works, how you're breaking it down, and how you can give some type of guarantee in any form or fashion of success. Where we have had several think tanks in every aspect of our nation, whether it be social, whether it be economical, whether it be education or healthcare, security, my point is that we have done the numbers, we've done the scenarios, every possible scenario, and we think that we have a very foolproof policy to move our country into a first world status, to bring betterment for our citizens, to give hope and opportunity. You have to remember too, we don't have much of a middle class. And why is that? They all jumped on a plane and they flew out to another first world country. And why was that? Because we had no hope and opportunity here in Trinidad, so they seek that elsewhere. Now you have to understand, we are losing all of our intellects, our artists, our you know, everything of the soil that can make our own country great. But you know, the powers that be within the political framework of Trinidad and Tobago, we are not, for the last 50+ years, have created the environment for that hope and opportunity for our citizens.
That, what we're left with is the people you referred to earlier on, and some people refer to them as the 1%ers. The 1%ers and us.
Well, it's almost. Well, it's almost. That's the environment we're almost at. I wouldn't say that we're there altogether fully, because we do still have a very small handful of middle class still on the island. These are people who have their little small businesses, medium-sized businesses, still trying to see what can happen. You know, they may have much roots here, family-wise or otherwise. But the point of the matter is that we should not have an environment as the third richest economy per capita in the Western Hemisphere. You look outside, we're nowhere close to first world. We've spent over $3 trillion since the Queen left our shores. And the question is no one to date, until Mr. Philip Alexander has brought that to the public space for the citizenry to know here. And again, people are always saying, what is he saying? Why is he saying it? They don't like his attitude. They don't like, they don't like. But the idea is this. We're not trying for you to like Mr. Alexander. We're not trying for you to like the PEP. We want you to understand you have, as a citizen, a new political vehicle that's mandated to bring transparency, accountability, and stand for each portfolio and be responsible for that said portfolio.
A lot of what you're saying there would be suitable for a discussion if we're talking about a national general election.
Yes, yes.
But the same principles govern what we stand for at local government.
At the local level. Yes.
For 2020.
Not really a trial run. It's more about getting our foot in the door, letting the population see some physical manifestation of what we stand for and how we plan to do it.
Right. And I said I was going to come back to you on the question of your knowledge and understanding of how the local government system works, and if you should you get in there, how you begin to make that work for you and for your district, for the people in Barataria.
Right. So a lot of people don't understand the mechanics of how local government works, like you said. So quick breakdown is broken up in municipalities, either cities, boroughs, or regions. Samlal is the smallest region. That is further broken down now into districts like Barataria, Malik, Sawa East, Sawa West, so on. And each one of those districts are represented by a councillor. They, coupled with 4 aldermen, which would be elected by the party that has the most councillors elected, are supposed to come together as a council and represent the needs of their people in terms of local government and the portfolio that entails. What they do, they meet in the council, they address the issues, they try and align it according to importance, and then they send out orders towards the regional corporation, in which the CEO is supposed to have that enacted and makes that follow through. So in terms of that, I understand it'll be a big battle because I'll just be one voice in a council of other existing UNC and PNM councillors and aldermen. So in terms of that, what I plan to do is still continue to raise the issues that are brought to my attention, but coupled with that, to be as accountable and transparent with the results of me raising these issues. So, for example, let's just say the paintings on the road. If I raise that issue in council and it's shut down for whatever reason, I will come back to the people through all my avenues that I can exhaust and explain to them why it is nothing is happening, if that be the case. So again, more accountability and transparency is the goal. I can't promise that the entire council will agree to pass the needs that I want. But again, just being accountable to the people, I would hope, is a new step forward for the people.
All right. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Christoph Samlal and Anthony Defoe. Mr. Samlal is the candidate for the Progressive Empowerment Party in Barataria in those local government elections due for July 16th. Mr. Defoe is the campaign manager. Gentlemen, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Andy.
All the best.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
All right, we take a quick break, and when we come back, we just want to wrap up with the statement by the Member of Parliament for Chaguanas West on why the government has decided to reverse itself and indeed conduct a session reviewing the latest nominations for the position of Commissioner of Police in Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us. This is State of the Nation on this Thursday.
By public demand.
All right. Say bye.
Thanks for having us. Tune in to Sunny and Sundown this afternoon.
All right, Trinidad.
Thanks again.